Okay, so today, ladies, is pretty exciting. I actually am going to share screen real quick because there's just a couple of foundational things that I just want to share with you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the meal plan. And I have some clients in the past who have said, I really don't like that phrase. It bugs me. So I'm going to call it my menu. That's awesome. Other people are like, nope, menu doesn't work for me. I'm with a meal plan. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to call it, it is about taking the time to be a little intentional and thoughtful with our food. Oftentimes people come to me and they really resonate with the idea of mindlessly eating and emotional eating. And it's like, okay, well, if we're not mindlessly eating, then we got to be mindful about it, right? Intentional about it. And if we're not emotional eating, then we have to figure out a way to eat that does not include emotions. And it can be a little challenging for some of us because what is hunger, right? There's kind of sometimes it's like a mushiness with the distinction between physical hunger and emotional hunger. And so if we're not eating because of our emotions, how are we eating? And again, for me, it really goes back to having a plan. And of course, there's part of me that really have thought that, and I'm sure that we all do, right? It's like, don't control me, don't tell me what to do. It's too restrictive. There's so much about that. But actually being very clear and being intentional has brought me an incredible amount of peace of mind and sanity around food, because then I don't have to wonder and I don't have to try and figure it out. And I don't have to, well, did I have enough? And like, how much more? And like, if I had a little bit more, and like, how many calories is that? And like, did I burn that many calories today? And like, maybe if I went for a walk tomorrow, and oh my God, that just makes, for me personally, madness in the mind. It's too much thinking about it. So what I do is I take that meal plan that I sent you guys. If you did not get it, just ping me, let me know, and I'm happy to send it over to you. It was also in, I think I put it in the link that you guys are getting, the email that you're going to get like in a few hours, like the wrap up email of like what we did the last 2 days. It's also in the very first email when you registered. And so, yeah, so it's just like the basic food plan. So what I do each day is I just jot down. It's like, okay, I know my measurements, and it's like, what's in my fridge? What do I have in the house? What do I want to eat tomorrow? Because that's a big part of it too, right? I don't want to just be eating quote diet food because I'm supposed to, because that's what's healthy. It's like, what of real, fresh, alive, and vibrant food that I can fit into that plan. So today the reason why I'd like to do a live cooking thing, and I'm going to show you breakfast, lunch, and dinner, is so that it comes to life. Right? That it's not just, letters on a piece of paper where it's like, oh, that's my plan, super exciting. Like, how does it actually come to life? Like, am I actually going to be full? Is this going to be enough? Like, how is this all going to happen? So I'm going to show you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, I'm also going to price it out for you. I actually did this yesterday. So I'm going to tell you how much that breakfast actually costs, how much that lunch actually costs to buy at the store, and how much that dinner actually costs, and how much it costs for the whole day. Now, just as a frame of reference, I live in California, and when I was looking at prices, I went to Whole Foods, and a lot of the stuff that I got was organic. So that's good news, right? So whatever the price is, if you live somewhere else or you're a bit more thrifty with your shopping, then you could really cut that price down significantly, which is also really awesome, because that's a sticking point for a lot of people too. It's like, oh, it's the time, it's too much time. It doesn't taste good. And, I don't want to do it, and it costs too much, and I just can't do it. So we're going to demystify all of that stuff today. I do want to give you a little bit of background. I talk about my mom a lot, and the mother-daughter weight scenario is top of mind often, right? Like thinking about my past. I actually live with my mother right now. There was a good many years where we just could not have a relationship. I was still and I didn't know this, right? I didn't know at the time. I just thought that she was annoying and controlling, and I didn't like her, and she bugged me. And really underneath the surface was this feeling out of control in my life, and really deeply wishing that she had taught me how to love myself, how to take care of myself, in that, food, body image way. And she could not. There was no way. When I was growing up, she didn't have anything to give in that department, except for craziness. And so I struggled with that. And as an adult, I had to find my way around that, and it put a strain on our relationship. Today, things are very different. And one of the reasons that things are very different is she met a man named Dr. Robert Lustig. Now, I'm sure if you're familiar with him, but he's all over YouTube. He's written a bunch of books. He used to be the head of the obesity department at UCSF. So a lot of people who have had any issues with their kids, have seen him or read his, wrote a book called Fat Chance. His newest one is called Metabolical. It's just the way that he explains things, you understand it, right? You don't have to have any kind of medical degree to follow along with what he's saying. And he was one of the first ones that did the research on high fructose corn syrup in the liver and realizing that fatty liver and diabetes and other things can be caused by the way that we eat. And it's the way that our body processes the added sugars and the processing of food and all of that kind of stuff. So my mom struggled with about 100 pounds when I was growing up. And it varied, from time to time. Sometimes she was smaller, medium, larger, whatever. But at one point, this was many years ago, 20 years ago, she got rid of all sugar and flour and lost 100 pounds and wasn't, as crazy person anymore. And her husband at the time was a pediatrician, and he, to keep up with his medical license, you have to go do continued education. And one of the continued educations was to go see Dr. Lustig. I think this was back in 2008 or 9. And he was like, hey, this guy, talks about sugar because, for a long time it was like, oh, fat makes you fat. And, who cares about the sugar? It's just empty calories and it doesn't matter. And, the kids could have it and it's no big deal and whatever. And so when she got that stuff out, she was like, because she'll tell you this is not a secret, but she was bulimic for a long time and nobody really knew. I didn't know that I didn't know that growing up, but that was actually one of the issues. But she said, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't feel crazy with food. My life has calmed down. My brain has calmed down. She had, fibroids in her breast that went away when she got rid of the processed food. Just all of these things. And she kind of thought she was crazy because, people kept telling her, well, can't you just have a little bit? And can't you just have a little bit? And do you have to be so strict? And she's like, it's not strict, it's sanity. But she couldn't explain it to anybody. Anyway, so her husband invites her to this talk, it's supposed to be only for doctors, right? And he's like, you just have to sit there and not say anything. Okay. Just listen. And of course she promised. And if you guys know my mom, or if you have any, you guys know me a little bit and you can't imagine me sitting there quiet. So she's 10 times wilder than I am. So she's sitting there and he goes through his whole spiel and he's talking about the Krebs cycle and the liver and, all that kind of stuff. And she just started crying because one of the things that he said was, it's not a moral issue. There is nothing wrong with you. Right? Addiction is addiction. What happens is that the processing of the food, it's not the food, it's what we've done to it. Right? It's not anything natural that God made. Good Lord, that we can have it and it's fine. God made it perfectly. There's vitamins. Even honey. I don't eat honey because my body's already too down that road, but there's vitamins, there's minerals, there's antioxidants, there's fiber. I don't know if there's fiber in honey, but there's fiber in other foods that have sugar. And Mother Nature, God made it perfectly for our bodies. It's when human beings get involved and we start processing and refining and adding and taking away and doing weird stuff with it, that it gets crazy. He said, what happens is that over time, it changes your physiology. And that's why over time, it's you see it trending in families, the, overeating and the obesity and the eating disorders and the disordered eating. And there's just a million ways in which you can try to describe kind of what is going on here with the body. And he said, you cannot fight your physiology. You can't fight it. It is what it is. The body wants what it wants. And once you begin to change that, it becomes very challenging. And then you start to think that there's something wrong with you. And then it goes into a mental, emotional kind of drama and trauma. That's not to say that dramas and traumas don't also trigger physiological changes and the dopamine receptors. It's complicated. But the basic thing that he shared with her that she was crying about was he said two things. It's not a moral issue. There's nothing wrong with you. And you cannot fight your physiology. And this is one of the reasons why moderation for a lot of people does not work. It actually makes makes some people more crazy because you keep triggering the physiology. Oh, there's a little chat in here, so I can't really see the chat while I'm doing this. Honey is antibacterial, antifungal. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful. And it doesn't work for some people, you know, depending on kind of how sensitive your body is to those sorts of triggers. It doesn't work very well. But you're right. It does. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it is incredibly, like, again, Mother Nature, it's so amazing. Okay. So what she did when she was sitting there listening to him, and she could not help it, is of course at the end he asked for questions, and she stood up and raised both hands and was like, excuse me, like, can you explain this? And she's crying and she's telling her story. And anyway, after the session was over, she literally like grabbed his hand and would not stop asking questions and talking to him for 2 hours. And they've been like best friends ever since. In fact, she even wrote the cookbook to follow up with Fat Chance. So it's like Fat Chance cookbook. There's Cindy Gershon, you can buy it. And she was working at a high school at that time. So they did all the recipes that they were cooking with the kids. And there's a little bit of sugar here and there, but like way less than you would ever find in like most kind of, you know, traditional sorts of cookbooks, especially cooking for kids. And it's just so cool. And she's actually creating a new one now, because that was like 10 years ago. So it's exciting and it's awesome to begin to have like the science and then the practical application of people saying, yes, this works and this is why, coming together. It's really fun. Okay. And so, I mean, I love these visuals, and I know that we're all on the same page with this. It's not about calories. It can't be about calories. Like, good Lord. There is a very different response inside of the body and the brain when you're eating, you know, and there's 100 more calories in that salad right there than if you're eating those French fries. So what actually happens in the body and the experience that you have after, both mentally, physically, emotionally, even spiritually, because it's really hard to like meditate and connect if you're all jacked up on French fries all day long. So we know now that it is not just about calories. You got to get the real food in there. And there are really 4 things that you do have control over that affect your hormones, because really for a lot of us, it comes back to that, because we basically are hormonal responses, right? I mean, that's what everything is. And we talk about the dopamine, we talk about the cortisol, we talk about the insulin, we talk about the glucagon and the glucose, like, well, glucose is blood sugar, but all those other ones are hormones, and they react and respond and are signals. And that's why I have the little picture here of like the air traffic controller, because there are signals that are sent out. And if the signals get crossed, then we have things like cravings and disorders, cancers and arthritis. And I mean, you just go on and on and on of the autoimmune disorders that happen because of signals getting crossed inside the body. So when our hormones are imbalanced, then we feel great. And everything that we eat, everything that we drink, everything that we think, and everything that we do creates a hormonal response in the body. So it's about the input. So the thinking, the doing, the eating, the drinking, all of it together creates our life experience. So when we talk about hormones and balancing hormones and feeling really good and allowing the body to settle into its natural weight. Now that can be kind of challenging because, you know, oftentimes it's like, well, what's your goal? What's your goal weight? What's your ideal weight? What's the number? And we really get kind of like married to the number on the scale, and that somehow means something. And allowing ourselves to broaden that perspective, because when we're looking at these 2 pictures right here, both beautiful, lovely human beings, and hormonally, the signal that the brain is getting is probably similar in both women. I was watching a Dr. Oz show many years ago, and he had this woman that came in, and she had to get weighed at where they weigh trucks, right? She was 450 pounds. It was beyond any scale at that time. And he was talking to her about what was going on. You know, Dr. Oz, he likes to do, tests and talk to people and like really get down to what's going on. And he did every single test on this woman that was possible. He went to her house and he brought out like a giant table in the middle of her kitchen and brought out everything from the refrigerator and the freezer and the cabinets and the cupboards and everything that was like edible in that house on the table. And of course, it was all packaged and processed and, that, typical food, American type food. And there was like, I remember there was like one head of broccoli, like right in the middle. I was like, yeah, girl, go with the broccoli. And so he came back and he opened up that little envelope with all like the test results on it. And he said, oh my God. And she was like, what, like, oh my God, my whole body just like decaying. And he said, you're actually pretty healthy. Like all of your organs are functioning fine. Like your systems are cool. Like there's one thing going on for you that is pretty major, but it's one thing that we need to address. And she said, what? And he said, you're malnourished. Your brain literally thinks that you are starving, while your body, which is like amazing, what a beautiful mechanism, taking all of that toxic stuff that the body does not need, that would have really damaged the organs and stored it inside of the fat cells, just kept storing it. Amazing. So beautiful. So that woman was malnourished, even though she was eating and she was eating plenty of calories. She was not eating foods that are fresh, alive, and vibrant, just like Mary Frances, you were saying, things with vitamins and minerals and nutrients and enzymes and antioxidants and fiber and water and like all of these amazing natural things that exist on this planet. So if your brain thinks that you are starving, now, obviously, these women have two different ways of dealing with that, but it is a similar type of response in the body, right? Where it's like, it's screaming for help. So when we are talking about help and getting help, it's like, okay, well, let's identify this. Let's have a goal. Let's go in a direction. Let's really nurture and nourish our bodies. And that's why I love the title of this weekend, Love and Weight Loss. Like really, like love this body. Like, what does that even mean? And how do I do that? And what if I don't really feel like it? And I got all this other stuff going on and I want to love it, but I also want it to change. Like, can these two things work together? And it's like, of course they can, but we want to have a plan. And that's really where, for me, the food plan comes in. Now, of course, there's other things as well. There's meditation and there's prayer and there's the groups and there's the work that we do, the writing that we did yesterday. And there's lots of other things. But when it comes to food specifically, it has been incredibly powerful and helpful for me to actually have a plan so that I don't have to wait until I'm hungry. And who knows if it's just physical or if it's emotional hunger, because still those things are pretty mushy for me. If I wait until I'm hungry, then I'm emotional eating, and I will often make not very great choices. So having a plan, right? Otherwise, we just kind of are wishing. Okay. So for today, we're going to be having, you can see, I have like my little whiteboard over there. I don't think that you can actually see it, but I'm just going to like read it to you real quick. So for breakfast, we're going to make muffins. For lunch, we're going to have tofu tacos. And for dinner, we're going to have chili. So if you have that meal plan, the food plan that I gave to you, you can see that it's like breakfast. Okay, we're going to have a serving of protein, a serving of some kind of starch, and a serving of fruit or veggie or veggie. Today, we're going to do fruit. So that's breakfast. Lunch is protein, veggie, fruit, and fat. And dinner is protein, veggie, and fat. So it sounds like kind of blah and simple, but we're going to get into it and you guys are gonna freaking love it. Okay, so right here today, I've got parsnips. Oh, so they kind of look like a carrot, but they are different and they have a different kind of flavor that are really cool. So I'm making them into what I call little parsnip fries. I'm going to show you how to cut them, and I'm going to throw them actually in the air fryer here in a few minutes, but I want to show you how I cut them. So I cut off the end. And also, just so you know, I don't know how you organize your kitchen, but this has been really awesome. I have a compost bucket. So this is like a compostable bag that I just put inside of a garbage can, and I throw my compost in there. And then depending on where you live, you can just throw that in your green bin. So that's how they do it in my state, in my town. Here we go. See? So cool. Little parsnip fries. All right, ladies, you ever had parsnips? Parsnips in the house. And because it's a root veggie, you can also boil them, and that goes really well. And you can make like a parsnip mash. So again, we're talking about veggies, root veggies. So in here, we're going to get vitamins, minerals. We're going to get, what do you call it? Enzymes. Well, once you cook it, no, the enzymes stay. Let's see. No, enzymes, that's right. Enzymes are the ones that change molecular structure when you cook. That's why it's good to have a variety of cooked vegetables and fruits and raw vegetables and fruits. And so when I am having my salad, that is really why people really push salad. It's not like, oh, eat lettuce, because lettuce is quote free and you can, bulk up and eat a lot of it. And, it's good for you. One of the reasons why raw veggies are good for you is exactly that. You want to get different enzymes. Enzymes are proteins that help your body break stuff down properly. So your body makes some, and then you also can get some from the food that you eat, which is so cool. Again, Mother Nature is like perfect. Absolutely perfect. So with these little parsnip fries, and again, you can mash them up and make a little like a parsnip mash as well. I am just going to put a little spray of avocado oil and some salt, and that's like literally it. Okay. Oh my God, look at this. So cool. Parsnip fries. All right, so I think I'm actually going to wait on the parsnip fries for a couple minutes. I'm going to show you kabocha squash. Now, of course, you can have any kind of squash. You can do like the little yellow squashes, the green squash, there's butternut squash. This is kabocha. This is one of my favorites. It is wild looking. So this might be a little bit loud because I'm going to kind of come down kind of hard on this. Oh, yeah. So what we're doing here is you can actually eat the skin. I know not everybody likes that, but I do. But really the only skin that you cannot eat of a squash is spaghetti squash. Do not be eating spaghetti squash skin. It is just awful. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to grab the seeds. If you are someone who likes to plant stuff in your own yard, I've done that as well. These seeds are good. I think kabocha squash gets planted in March after the first frost, I think was what they said. So you can take the seeds and clean them off and dry them out. All right, so this kind of is like a perfect little slice here. And I'm going to see if I can get some more slices similar to that. Yeah, this is hearty. Oh, this is hearty. And butternuts, I'm sorry, this is kabocha squash. All these different squashes, you can make a nice soup from them too, if you'd like to. All right, so for these guys today, I'm going to be using my air fryer. Now I have the Ninja Max. And so I'm just going to pop these in here. See, what I really love about the air fryer is that, I don't know about you, but I'm stinking busy. Like I've got 2 jobs, I'm a single parent, my son is in sports, like I got things going on. And so I don't always have time to be messing around, cooking every single day. And even when I do have some time, I don't have an hour or 2 hours every day to be cooking every meal. So oftentimes also what happens is I'll go to start and I'll get like distracted doing something else and I will burn the food. I've actually just learned to enjoy burnt food. I know it's bad. I try not to do it. And this is one of the reasons that I love my air fryer, is because you can set a timer on it. Like you can set the temperature and the timer, and then it goes off when it's done. It goes off. You don't have to messing around with it anymore. One of the things that I did is I got like a little spray bottle, just like on Amazon, and I put avocado oil in here. Now, avocado oil has a higher smoke point, which means that it can handle temperatures, I think up to like 450 without changing molecular structure. So that's one of the things that is a real bummer about when you deep fry food. It's like, oh, well, you know, it's oil, it's fine. Like oil is okay for you. And there's some controversy there, but still. But what happens is that if you take cheap oil or oil that is like, you know, either olive oil or I think canola oil. Anyway, you can go and read and check what the smoke point of each of them is. But if you heat them past that point, it changes molecular structure from a good fat to a bad fat. Then it ends up clogging the arteries, and you don't feel good, and you have all kinds of issues. So I just stick with avocado oil because I know it's 450, and I just never cook above 450. There you go, simple. So here is the kabocha squash, just cut up into here. Sometimes I'll put like water down at the bottom, and I can actually kind of do that now. And what it does is it just steams it a little bit and makes it so that the skin is a little softer, which is kind of nice. And I'm just going to do a little squirt of avocado oil. And I'm going to do a little salt. Cool. And I'm going to put it in the air fryer. There we go. I just did regular air fry, so that's temperature 390 for 20 minutes. It does do better if you can come in and kind of do a little shake after about 10 minutes and see kind of what's going on in there. Because obviously if I, you know, when I put these in, there's so many more, it's going to take longer to cook. So there was not a lot in there. So it's probably not going to take 20 minutes, but we're not leaving the kitchen. So we'll remember that. Okay, so we got that cooking for right now. Let's go ahead and make breakfast. So breakfast, and remember, when I'm portioning things out, I always have my scale. So if you do not have a digital food scale, I highly recommend that you get one. So you could just turn it on, put on the bowl, even it out, zero it out. And so I'm going to make banana nut muffins, and I will tell you that this is a bit over ripe. I would probably have made the muffins probably 2 or 3 days ago, but this is the basic gist. Again, this is a little bit too ripe, but it'll work. It'll work. All righty, so we want to do 6 ounces of banana. Okay, a little bit less. Perfect. Girl, you know it's true. It goes right, so nice. Okay, so we got 6 ounces of banana, and we're just going to mush that up. Mush it up a little bit. Cool. And then, so that's the fruit. Perfect. Now for the protein, I'm going to do 1 egg. So I'm going to split my protein. If I was only going to be doing eggs, it would be 2 eggs. So that would be half. And then I'm going to do 1 ounce of nuts. And I'm going to do a little bit. So I just zeroed that out. I'm going to do a little bit of this like weird nut butter thing that I got. When I say weird, it's because it's pistachio and macadamia. It's a weird combo. It is, honestly. I don't know how I feel about it, but I got it and it's good. It's just different. It's different. Okay, so we got 1 egg and we're doing 1 ounce of nuts. So I'm going to mix it up with a little nut butter and some raw pecans, which is totally awesome. So I'm at 0.79 right now, 0.85, 0.92. A little bit more, 0.97, 1. Perfect, perfect. And I'll tell you, for someone who has like struggled with like, you know, portions and how much and a little bit more and did I have enough and can I have a little bit more and all of that kind of stuff, I'll tell you, it is so nice to have the consistency of weighed and measured meals. I fought it for a really long time because I did it when I was like 14. I did it again when I was 25 and I'm like, I never. So the difference is a couple of things. One, the difference is, you know, doing all the other millions of things and realizing that it doesn't work. And two, adding in the emotional support, which is what I actually finally did a few years ago, is adding in the compassion piece, the piece about love, the piece about realizing that I'm not just doing this for weight and I don't want to be the skinniest I've ever been. You know, the smallest I've been is about 130. And I mean, although it was nice because I was like a size 4 and I was like, this is great, you know, I didn't have my period. I was 25 years old. I didn't have my period. I lost my period for 2 years, the entire time that I was at that weight. I was hungry all the time. I was cold all the time. Like it just, it wasn't right. Although in my mind, I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be. And also being almost 200 pounds, that wasn't awesome either. And, you know, it was like my joints hurt and it was hard to breathe and it was hard to get up and I didn't want to wake up in the morning. And not only did my clothes not really fit the way that I want them to, but it's like, you got to bounce around in bed to roll over. Like there's a lot of little things that people who have never gained any weight just don't really understand. Like it's not comfortable. It's not awesome to be in a body that's carrying around an extra 50 pounds. So now there's this like somewhere in the middle. And quite frankly, it's been a lot of work to mentally and emotionally get over the fact that it's not right for me to be 130 pounds. So right now I'm 155. I'd prefer to be 5 pounds less, but I also realize I'm like, oh my God, I literally have had that thought my entire life. Even when I was at 130, I was like, well, you know, maybe just 5 more pounds. And so I get to love myself through that thought and let it pass, right? It doesn't need to mean anything. I don't need to do anything different. My period is super stable. My energy is super stable. My clothes fit from, you know, month to month, year to year. You know, I'm not cold. I'm not hungry. I'm not tired all the time. Like it's perfect. It's perfect. So really coming to that realization and letting myself settle into that has been a journey. Okay, so what else do we need, you guys? We need our oats. Now, of course, like if you don't like banana, do something different, do peaches. If nuts make you crazy, don't do nuts. My mom actually made some the other day with, so I think she did an egg and then 1 ounce of ricotta cheese. And I was like, that was so stinking good. It was so good. So there's lots of ways to kind of go around here. If there's some little tweak that you're like, oh, I don't really like that, do something different, right? If you don't like oats, do rice. You don't like that, do, I don't know, quinoa, do something else. Okay, so this, I already weighed this out. This is 1 ounce of dry oats and a heaping teaspoon of cinnamon, which is exactly how I like it. So I'm just going to put that right in there, mix that up. So I'm showing you 1 serving. So this is what's going to be for breakfast. I'm going to put it in the little muffin tins. I already have my oven preheating to 375. But this, what's really nice is that typically what I'll do is I'll make a whole batch, right? So I'll make 6 servings and then they freeze really well. I mean, look how awesome this is. Boom. Right? This is ones that I made probably about a week ago. And I just come right in here and I pop these out, stick them in the microwave for a minute, and I have my breakfast. It is so easy and so simple. And what I really love about that, again, because I'm stinking busy. Like, I mean, even though breakfast is probably the easiest thing to maintain, like you have all your willpower in the morning and your energy, and like, you're like, I can do this. And like, usually people don't have a problem with breakfast. But quite frankly, a lot of us skip it because we get busy. You know, we skip it because we get busy, and then that ain't cool. And you wait until lunch, and then you're like too hungry, and you're all upset, and you eat some weird sandwich, and you feel like crap, and yeah, you know what I'm saying. Okay, so I highly recommend these, ladies. I mean, there are some things that are just non-negotiable in my kitchen. One is a scale. Two are these little silicone muffin cups. They are amazing. Probably three is going to be the avocado oil. It's amazing. Okay, so we've got our breakfast mixture. Again, this is just one serving. And you can see it's incredible how much food we actually need. Okay, let's get this all in here. Two beautiful heaping muffins. Now heaping muffins. Cool. All right, so I'm going to stick those in the oven at 375 for, well, this is a new oven, so kind of, I don't really know, it's somewhere around 20 minutes, sometimes 18, sometimes 22. We got a question? Okay, I'm going to go stick this in here real quick though. Okay, so let's remember to check back on that. I am going to check in about 10 minutes so you can see that. Right, and so usually what I like to do, kind of mix it up a little. Kind of get the other sides going. Yeah, looking good. Okay, excellent. What else is going on here? Okay, so breakfast, done. It's in the oven. Lunch, we're going to do some tofu tacos. Okay, good. So I'm going to get that out. We're going to have jicama shells. Oh, hummus. So full disclosure, I kind of forgot about the tofu when I was setting all this up. So do not have it all out and ready and prepared for you, but that's cool. We're just going to do it. Yeah, so I do like to kind of go in between the cooking the veggies and the fruit and having it raw. So both are good. You just get a little different nutrients and stuff that come out of it. All right. Tofu. So hold on, there's a little water in here. I got it out there. Okay. So with the tofu, I'm going to take it here, do some seasoning of it. So what I do is going to do a little bit of this avocado oil and just kind of coat it so that, and sometimes people will come in like with a paper towel, you know, or a towel or something like that, and they'll kind of pat down so they get some of the moisture out of the tofu. I haven't really found that necessary. To me, there's not that big of a difference. So I don't really go through all of that. But it does change it a little bit. It allows it to be a little drier, a little less moist. It gets a little crunchier on the outside, which can be nice. And I'm going to do some garlic. Do a little garlic powder on there. Heck yeah. A little chili powder. Yeah. Oh, come on. There we go. Cool. And a little pepper. A little salt. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna mix that up. Cool. Okay, so these are perfect, and I'm going to set them aside. As I'm setting them aside, we are then going to put the parsnips right just in on top of it. And same thing, just a little avocado. And it's nice to have the spray because then you don't get like too much, you know, because you don't really want to douse them. You just want a little bit. You know what, quite frankly, you probably don't. Okay, so we're turning this on. We're going to do just a little spray in there. We're going to get these tofus. How to keep it like this. Okay. So, little avocado. So with the chili, look how cool this is. Oh, all the seasonings and spices. So that's chili powder, garlic, salt, pepper, cayenne, and cumin. Super simple, super delicious. All right, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to caramelize the onions. Right, so again, we're just bringing out some natural flavor. We're bringing out some of the natural sugars. So when you do this properly, you don't have to add sugar. A lot of times recipes will have you, I mean, even like the ones that I look up, they will have you add sugar. And what's actually really kind of cool, my mom is a chef. And so she's had a restaurant for the last 40 years. She's been teaching cooking for the last 11 years at the high school. And we were in the classroom and I did not know this. And I had them just put like all the things together, put the onions and the tomatoes and all the things and like let it sit. And it didn't taste right. And we had to like, we kept having to add sugar. And the kids were like, no, it's still not right. It's still not right. Like, it's just not right. And she was like, well, did you caramelize the onions? And I said, no. She was like, Rose, if you don't caramelize the onions, you have to add sugar. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of, you know, like when you get tomato sauces and things like that, they'll have added sugars is kind of because they were a little bit lazy. So if you get ones that don't have added sugars, they probably did it right. They probably actually brought out the natural sugars in the onions before they added all of the other things. And then you don't have to add extra sugar. And I was like, dude, that's cheese. Cheese. Thank you so much. So little tricks of the trade. We've got our tofu just kind of doing its thing over here. We've got our onion doing its thing over here. And it's like, oh, I just like one more reminder of like eating well is good for everybody. It's right for everybody. More and more people are doing it and want to be doing it. It's not like diet food, right? It's just real, fresh, alive, vibrant food that is good for our bodies and makes us feel good. Okay, so this is really cool. Of course, you can do it yourself. This is just jicama. So they take jicama and they use like their, I don't know, mandolin or whatever that thing is called, and they just slice it real thin. And it just comes out in these like cool little shells. So I have my plate on my scale right here. And I am doing little taco shell. Okay, so obviously this is going to count as my veggie. For lunch, I have 6 ounces of veggie. So I am going to have some squash. I'm going to do a double because those jicama shells are pretty thin. Oh my God, 6.0. All right, so we're going to wait on that because we want, well, no, actually, we're going to do it right now. Okay, good, cool. Okay, so for my fat, for my taco shells, I'm going to do, so when you do hummus and avocado, both of them as your fat, it's 2 ounces. So I'm going to do 1 ounce of hummus and 1 ounce of avocado. So I'm just going to zero that out right now. So for each shell, obviously, it's going to be half. Oops. Total, I'm going to total of 1 ounce. Okay, you can see that we're starting to get like a little bit of color here on these little tofus. So amazing. And the tofu, you can actually you can put in the air fryer as well and not have to kind of go through this whole thing where you're flipping it over and you're doing stuff. There's a lot of things that I just throw in the air fryer and forget about it. come back to it when it's time to eat. All right, but this is cool. This is looking really good. Just turning them all over. Yeah, ladies. Yes. All right, well, we've got just another minute to cook. All right, so with the onions that are now doing their caramelization, they're actually doing a little bit of burning, but that's just because I don't know the stove yet. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. So what is also really nice to do is to toast the seasonings a little bit. Right, so I'm going to take all of these seasonings, and I'm just going to put them in there. Right, I'm just going to let them toast for a minute. And again, it brings out a bit of the flavor. Really nice. Yeah, I wish you guys could smell this. Really, you can see it. Woo! Woo, baby. Another thing that I could have done is put the lid on a little bit and let the onions sweat. Bring out some of the moisture. That would have been good too. This is a bit more of a dry toasting the seasonings right now. Oh my God, yeah. Wow, that is vibrant. So now I'm going to put the meat in. Brown that up a little bit. And the great thing about doing some prep, I mean, obviously, all this food that I'm making, quote, for you, is also for me. So this is another really wonderful thing about chilling, is that it freezes really well. So you can make a batch and then, you know, get some Tupperware, portion it out, stick it in the freezer, and then just pull it out when you need it. Same thing with those little muffins. And that's what I do. You know, just do some batch stuff. And then I never have to go without. I never have to, you know, spend time when I don't really have time. You know, and I never have to eat out. And I never have to eat snacks and things like that. But, you know, in the moment seem right, but you don't really feel so great afterwards. Yeah, a big part of my food stuff outside of the, you know, frustration with the weight and it going up and down and all over the place was my moods. I used to get real angry and I didn't know why. You know, and when you are messing with your hormones like that, and I didn't know it messes with your mood. You know, and that's why I often ask people, how's your food and how's your mood? You know, because for me, those two go together like peanut butter and jelly. So many foodie phrases. All right, so now that we've got the meat in there, it is seasoned to high heaven. Woo-hoo. Feeling it. Okay, so now I'm going to put in 3 cans of beans. I use the tri-bean. I love garbanzos. That's my favorite. And then James's favorite is kidney. I did 1 of each of those. I'm going to pop that in. And then I put a jar of tomato basil or marinara or whatever. I just look at the back and I make sure there's no added sugar, right? I mean, obviously there's going to be natural sugars and the tomatoes and that kind of stuff that they put in there, but nothing added. I'm going to put that right on top. Now, obviously you can make your own as well. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff, you can make your own hummus, you can make your own tomato sauce. All these things are completely home makeable. I use 1 jar of that. And now I'm just going to mix that all up. So we've got We had the caramelized onions, the seasoned seasonings, the meat. I did 1 pound of ground beef and 3 cans of beans, 1 jar of, tomato basil or marinara, or, a jar of your own tomato sauce. And now I'm just going to let it sit on low. Low. Okay. Oh, yeah, look at that. So now my scale zeroed out. It went off, so that's fine. I'm just going to turn it back on. All right, so we know that we already have our veggie. We've got half the fat. Now we got to put on some of the protein. So we're going to do 4 ounces of tofu. So obviously I'm going to split it between the 2, and I'm just going to do 2 ounces each. So that makes it easy. Okay. Oh, perfect. Oh, perfect. Oh my God, you see this 4.0. Love it. Okay, so now that we've got our little tofu tacos going here, I'm going to do the other half of the fat, which is going to be, actually, I think maybe I'm going to put the salsa on first. I think that looks prettier. I don't usually care too much about how it looks, but it's kind of nice sometimes when it's pretty. So salsa I use as a condiment, but it's not quote unquote free. For me, with how long I've struggled with food, there is no such thing as free food, right? I will take weird advantage of that, and it gets confusing in my brain and just no. So even though it is considered a condiment, there's still some boundaries around it for me, and I do 2 ounces max. Right now, I don't have to have that much, but like that's the measurement. So I'm going to zero that out. And I'm going to give myself, actually also, it's also really nice to have a boundary around the condiment also, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, it's free, and I'll have like this whole thing, and it actually ruins the meal. Do you know what I mean? Like there's proper portions to different flavors and textures and foods and things like that. But so it actually is really nice to have a boundary around that, because then I don't ruin my own food. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do a little bit on here. We're going to do a little bit on here. And of course, this has got like jalapeno and cilantro and onion and tomato. And it's just 1.6. So that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, ladies. So now we want to I'm going to zero that back out again. And now we want to do the 1 ounce of avocado. I'm just going to click on that a little. Oh, what I've done is I'm just going to turn that off. Let's check on the muffins. Those are looking good. Okay. This is this is why I love my air fryer. It's like you could set a timer. You get distracted. Okay, so beautiful avocado. Oh my God, what a perfect avocado. And what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to do just that right amount, which is going to be, what was it? So it's going to be about a half an ounce for each. Okay. Just so you know, that's 0.35 right there. So that looks nice. That looks nice. Okay. Okay, a little more. See, I love that. More, baby, more. All right, so we want a 1 ounce of avocado total. So that is 0.92. And there you go. Perfect. 1.0. Oh yeah, girlfriend. All right, what's even better about this amazing meal that we just made, look at this, like tofu, hummus, avocado, salsa, amazing roasted veggies, is like, that's not even all. That's not even all. So it's 6 ounces of veg, 4 ounces of protein, 1 serving of fat, which, because we picked avocado, it's 2 ounces. But also we need an apple. So again, I'm portioning all of this out so that we can see breakfast, lunch, and dinner. all together, we can see just how pretty simple it is. I mean, I'm obviously not a chef. Like, this is not gourmet. This is not fancy, right? I do not own or work in a restaurant. Yes, my mom does, but that is not me. I actually didn't even learn how to cook until way later in life, because why would I ever need to? Like, somebody else cooked for me. And, you know, she's a bit of a foodie, so she's kind of controlling in the kitchen. So that really wasn't like a fun environment for me growing up. Oh, God bless her. And then, of course, like when she was on a diet, she would feed us. I mean, I'm talking, I love envy apples with a little squeeze of lemon on there. It's the best. She would feed us and feed us and watch us eat and feed us and watch us eat. And she would bake and bake and bake and feed us. And it was like crazy. And then when she wasn't on a diet, she would eat all the food in the house and then feel bad. And she would order out every day. Like, there was one summer, I remember we had Taco Bell legit every single day for a month. And then there was another summer where probably for 3 months we had stir fry, because it was just like, whatever, just like throw the things in and stir fry it. And we were like, can we have something else but stir fry? Okay, so I have my apple. I squeezed some lemon on there, which is what I really like to do. It just makes it like sweet and sour. It's like totally delicious. And then here, look at all of this amazing lunch. All right, I'm going to set this aside for right now so that we can really get a little bit more going on the other stuff. Let's check out the chili. Obviously, oh my God, you guys, oh my God. So I'm going to show you actually the salad right now. This is one of my favorite things. Okay, so we're going to do, now this is dinner. That was lunch. So you can mix and match them and whatever. You can have taco with them. Tofu tacos for dinner. But I typically have that. That would be a lunch for me. And for me, I typically have my salad at dinner. Now, I know that everyone's a little bit different, but I usually have my raw veggie salad action going at dinner time. So I got my bowl. I do my salad in a bowl, and I zeroed out here. And I got some, you know, I do spring mix, veg mix. Sometimes, you know, have the carrots and cucumbers and, you know, tomatoes and other things in there. But I also sometimes really like just lettuce, just like the simplicity of lettuce. And I'm going to show you how to kind of spice that up a little. You are going to love this. So I usually do a 2-ounce salad. Oftentimes people do more. I think on that meal plan, it says 6-ounce salad, 6-ounce cooked veg. I do that occasionally too, but here's 6 ounces of, or I'm sorry, 2 ounces of just lettuce. Look at this thing. What is happening? Okay, so this is a like little jar, mug, cup thing filled with water. I got fresh cilantro and fresh mint, and I put it in this jar right here. Now, what that does is then I'm going to stick it in the fridge, and it keeps it fresh and from going like, you know, weird and moldy and soggy and whatever. I actually learned this from a chef at Mount Diablo High School. Thank you, Chef Kevin. And it's so cool. It's so cool. So my favorite thing on my salad is fresh herbs. Herb. And I love a little mint. So I'm just going to, how cool is that? Just gonna chop it. Oh, kitchen shears are some of my favorite things on the planet. So I'm just gonna do this right here. So cool. The best. All right, and I'm gonna do a little balsamic vinegar, just like that. And this is the combination, the winning combo. Mrs. Dash, just OG Mrs. Dash, just kind of give it a nice sprinkle there. Beautiful. Fresh herb salad. And again, you can put other veggies on there, you know, with carrots and stuff like that. So now we're going to put together our chili dish. So remember, the salad was part of dinner, and so is this. And I'm going to show you how I measure it out. See those parsnip fries? So cool. Look at these little guys. It's so cool. Alrighty. So I got my bowl on here and I have zeroed it out. And I'm gonna put some veg. Now, there is some tomato sauce and some onions and some stuff like that inside of the chili. So I am gonna count about 2 ounces for that. So I've got 2 ounces for my salad. I've got 2 ounces for the veg inside of my chili. And then, so the rest is going to be about 8. I mean, look at this, is like crazy, the amount of food, right? I'm going to just do it's like spiraled around so that we can really see it. This is so wild. Okay, almost done. Let's do a couple more. Here we go. Perfect. All right, so how I weighed this out and how I manage that, like kind of in my mind, and this is how I would do soups, chilies, like anything like that. You kind of just figure out the different ingredients that you have in there and how much it would weigh, and then just stick with that. That's how I do it for my brain, for just simplicity. So I know that there's ground beef, I know that there's beans, and I know that there is some veg, right? So if I was going to do ground beef, a serving is 4 ounces. If I was going to do beans, a serving is 6 ounces. And then I got a couple ounces of veg. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that add to? If I'm going to do somewhere between the 4 and 6 for the protein, and then I'm going to do a couple ounces for the veg, it kind of evens out to about 8 ounces, which is a cup, which is so easy, right? So even if you don't have a scale with you, I mean, obviously we do have a scale right here, right? So I can weigh it. But even if you don't have a scale and you're like out and about somewhere, maybe you're having friends over, or maybe whatever the issue is, I would just simply take a measuring cup, do 1 cup, boom, 8 ounces. Perfect. Stinking perfect. So simple. Okay, so for my fat, because I still need fat. Now you have a couple different options. You can put your fat as like, you know, some kind of a dressing or, you know, something like that on your salad. Personally, I don't prefer that. I really like to just have it, the balsamic vinegar with the Mrs. Dash seasoning and the herbs. Like that's like my favorite. And so I typically will have my fat with whatever my meal. So for this particular meal, I like to have a little Toby's blue cheese dressing. Now, again, cheese doesn't work for everybody, so don't do it. Do something different. But that's what I like to have. And it's really nice to have like a little bit of the creaminess on the chili as well. It's kind of a nice little flavor there. So it's when you're weighing out your fat like this, it is 0.5. There you go. Oh my God, I think we're done. I just got to get the muffins out of the oven now. Do you love that? Look at those little muffins. They're so cool. Oh yeah. Okay. See? Whew. All right. So when I was telling you about like why to get these little like silicone muffin tins, this is why. Look at this. Oh, it's a little hot, but. Is that the best? Oh my gosh. That's the best. It just comes right out, and you can make like little egg bites too. It makes it so easy. Makes it so easy. Okay, so this is breakfast. Excuse me. All right, so we got breakfast muffins. We've got lunch tofu tacos with roasted veggie and apple. And we've got dinner, amazing herb salad with amazing chili and parsnip fries. Boom. Oh my God, so cool. This is so amazing. Okay, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner has come to life. It has come to life, ladies. Okay, so I did a little bit of the math. And again, that I told you that I just went to Whole Foods, and a lot of the stuff that I got was organic. But if you break down breakfast, so these breakfast muffins ended up being $2.29. Okay. This amazing tofu, right? Tofu taco with the roasted veggie and apple, that ended up being $5.46. And this amazing parsnip fry with a beautiful herb salad, fresh herb, and chili was $6.21 for a grand total. I mean, I also included the avocado oil, the cilantro, the mint, the balsamic vinegar, the dressing, the salsa, like all of those little bits and pieces along the way. I also added those in. It comes to a grand total of $14.99. Awesome. And I guarantee that probably where you live, you could probably get a lot of those ingredients cheaper, or substitute different ingredients so that you can make sure that you are in line with your budget and eating fresh, alive, vibrant foods and feeling freaking amazing. I love you so much. Have an amazing, amazing, beautiful week with so much love for yourself, so much honoring and blessings. I'll talk to you soon.